What's up, gang? Welcome to the Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius Mershazde. I'm so pumped to have you here with me. Now, listen, the Greatness Machine, we're about two things. Number one, people who are living their passions. And number two, those who are creating greatness in the world and doing both of these things despite the odds against them. Each episode, we're going to feature interviews with game changers, business leaders, telling us their origin stories, what made them tick, what got them to where they are now. Why? So it can help you step into your greatness within your life, your business, and your career. Occasionally, you might hear a few solo episodes from myself, moi, as I leverage my 20 years of entrepreneurship as a CEO and founder to help you grow and level up in your journey to scale your life and your business. So come be a fly on the wall, enjoy the conversation, and I'm stoked to have you here with me. Guys, welcome to today's episode of The Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius Mershazde, and boy, do we have special guests. My man, Chuck Hall, is in the house. What's up, Chuck?
How you doing, Darius? It's so good to be here.
Oh, man, I'm so fucking fired up right now.
Thank you. I am too. I've been looking forward to this.
I had to drop an F-bomb out of the gates. Audience, just know it's going to be one of those episodes. Man, do you mind if I do a little bit of housekeeping and then we're going to get rolling here?
Go for it.
Let's do it. So for audience members who are new to the show, The Greatness Machine, we're about two things. People are living their passions and those creating greatness and doing so despite the odds. And my man Chuck here is neither short of passion or greatness. So I'm going to give you guys a little 411. You guys know I talk about GOT and BOG and a bunch of other 3-letter words, maybe some 4-letter words from time to time. But no, GOT has a fond place in my heart. And I've been on the board now for a few years. And I didn't tell you this, Chuck. So I'm going through and I'm digging through the list of former speakers, and it shows who the chairman was of GOT, who chaired the event. Now, for listeners who are like, what the hell is Darius talking about? So GOT is this, essentially it's an executive education alumni event at MIT for people that graduated from a program called BOG, which Chuck and I both graduated from. And so a bunch of students got together and said, hey, we want to continue. This is so awesome. We're going to keep doing this event. Rick Sapio was one of the guys that was the kind of the brainchild, his brainchild. And so every year someone has to chair the event. So what that means in plain English is a busy human that's like running their businesses or doing whatever it is they're doing. In this case, it's a bunch of entrepreneurs, so they're all running their businesses, commits to quarterbacking an event for 75 other entrepreneurs to show up at MIT and like spend a week of their lives, more or less, getting together, learning, and trying to build a better world. So if you can imagine, like there's a fairly high amount of stress that you have to put on a damn good event, or else you're going to piss off 74 other people. So I'm looking on the list of like former speakers because I got volunteered to do this, to be the chair of in 2021, mid-COVID. And I see this guy, Chuck Hall, his like name's all over the thing. Now, I started in GOT in 2017, and you were no longer there anymore. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think you started, I think my last year was 16.
So I started, out with one amazing human and in with another. So I get in there. Chuck's no longer there. At this point, I'm just a participant, so I don't know any of the heritage of Chuck's involvement. But fast forward 4 years later, I'm looking at the list. I see his name all over the thing. I'm like, dude, this guy is a fucking glutton for punishment. Like he chaired this event. Like, how many times did you chair? Like 5 times?
Actually, just once. Yeah, just once. Man. I tried. I volunteered, but Rick and Mike had such a good rhythm going. It wasn't until I guess it was 15 or 14 that I got the chance to do it.
I don't know, for whatever reason, man, they must have just plastered your name on there for fun then, because I was like, it looked like you had chaired it a bunch of times. Maybe you just had a lot of speakers. And so anyhow, I was like, oh, cool. And then every year when we're sitting in our board meeting, which you show up a day early, you do the board meeting at Endicott House. They're like, yeah, you think Chuck will come back? They're like, no, he's over it. He's busy. He's doing a bunch of stuff. So anyway, that was my connection with you. If you don't mind, I'm going to give a little bit of your formal bio, and then I'd love to hear your origin story. You have an amazing entrepreneurial origin story. I'd love for you to kind of give some of that to our audience. So, guys, Chuck is a freaking master of disaster, badass entrepreneur, just building amazing businesses, 30 years of experience as chairman, CEO, and entrepreneur, committed to serving aging adults. So we're going to be talking about this demographic of the elderly, seniors, as many call them. And so you've really devoted your business life at this point to building vertically integrated businesses focused on the care of seniors, which is such an important thing. And I love it just from like really a more of a strategic perspective. We have this aging population that needs a lot of help. And so it's so cool to see that someone's really focused on building in that vertical. You're obviously use strategy, expertise, culture, all the above. I'm going to add one more piece to this, and I left this out. So what got this to happen was former guest and one of my former mates, CK, Chris Kraus. I get
the
man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah,
I'm going to say this. It might be half true. I think it's 100% true. It might be false, but fuck it. I'm saying it anyway. I get a drunk call from Nashville, from CK on like a Friday night at like 10 o'clock. And he's like, hey, Darius, you got to meet my friend Chuck Hall. He's got to be a guest on your show. And I'm
That's
like, dude, I think CK is fucked up right now. And then we ended up chatting for a few minutes. And so so we got to give a shout out to CK for helping make this happen.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Anyhow, so man, Chuck, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to hear some of your origin story.
Yeah. So I got to give a shout out to CK too. We hadn't seen each other in a few years. We had a phenomenal dinner together, and I really appreciate him connecting you and I. I've been an entrepreneur literally since a young child. Both my parents were entrepreneurs. I was raised, if I wanted a pair of soccer shoes or a new bike, I had to earn it, and I had to earn the money to buy it myself. But I founded a construction company 25 years ago, and we immediately got into senior living through a relationship of a friend. And, over the years, I really came to really enjoy serving seniors, whether it was building the community, how we design the community. And then I got to meet some great partners. They were operating partners, they were caregivers, and then all the ancillary businesses that go along with it. And 8 years ago, I had this idea of a vertically integrated approach where we could control the quality and the care and how those residents and employees engage in their day-to-day. And I got so lucky. A longtime friend, Chris Gay, he's our CEO of Vitality Senior Living. He went on his own. We started doing some deals together. I was handling the real estate side and the construction side. And about a year and a half in, I get this phone call from Chris. He's like, dude, my equity just backed out. I don't know what to do. I'm really scared. I'm worried. I don't know what to do. I'm like, I'm in. Where do I send the money? Can I replace them? And I like to say it was the day after, but within several days, I had wired in, we got the deal done. And, flash forward today, there's 3 partners. There's me, there's Chris Gay and Blanding Beatty. We have Vitality Global Holdings, and we are 11 states, 29 communities. I think we're close to 2,000 employees. We have a pharmacy business now with 2 other partners. By this time next year, we should be serving 20,000 seniors.
Wow.
And we have a home care business that's brand new. It's about a year old now, growing really quickly in Nashville. So that's the quick version of it.
That's pretty cool. So I want to take a step back. So your parents were entrepreneurs. What type of businesses were they both entrepreneurs? Your dad, your mom?
Both.
How'd that roll?
Wow. My dad has been a jack of all trades his whole life. During the day, he managed a yacht club in Barrington, Rhode Island. And on the side, he had a bunch of businesses related to marina construction. So docks, moorings, seawalls, that kind of thing. And that's really where I cut my teeth and learned about being an entrepreneur, was working alongside my dad, because he worked all the time. And if I wanted to see my dad, I had to go to work. So I had a hammer in my hand, and probably at the age of 10 or 12. And then I was an early teenager, and mom started her own residential real estate firm in the same town. And we saw the best of times as kids when mom and dad were doing well, and we knew what it was like when things weren't going well, because the fridge wasn't always full like it was when the times were good.
Wow. So your dad was more or less in construction, which kind of lended way for you to get in there. Yeah. Do you have a good relationship with your dad?
Fantastic.
That's friends. Awesome.
We talk at least once a week, if not a couple times a week. Yeah. I'm lucky.
How old is your dad now?
80, he's 85.
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah. And my dad would,
and get this, he just retired.
No way. That's awesome.
This past summer, he just retired. He's just one of those men. He just doesn't like to sit around, and he kept himself busy up until about a year ago. No, just 6 months ago.
That's solid. I think like that's a well lived like professional experience, right? Like mid 80s.
Yeah.
You know, I'm down for that. So yeah, like that's awesome. First of all, I think so my dad was an entrepreneur, but I did not have a good relationship with him. So that kind of changes the equation. I still knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So it wasn't even, my parents did halvesies with me. Like they're like, hey, you earn half, we'll pay half if for anything, more or less anything I wanted. Well, hold on. This is graded on a curve though. My dad also wouldn't pay me if I worked for him. So. Yeah. So I guess if I factored in what I should have been paid, then that's probably about, I probably paid for the whole thing.
My dad was somewhat similar. One of the big things, a big part of his business was he had a bunch of moorings in the river, and the mooring is what a sailboat or a powerboat attaches to, and it keeps it in place.
Okay.
And he made a deal with me and my brother that he would get us scuba lessons, all the gear, but we had to dive for him for free to maintain the moorings.
Oh, shit.
And this is one of my favorite stories. My brother came up with this a business idea. He called it bottoms up. And the idea was, we'd use the gear that Dad, essentially gave us in the training that he gave us, and we'd go do the work for other people. My brother was, my mom has this story. If Chuck and Jared walk up to a hole, Chuck is always the first to jump in because he thinks it's an opportunity. Jared spends his time, walking around the edge until Jared can figure out how to get out of the hole, and then he might jump in. Well, Jared was walking around that hole too long. I jumped in, and he and I had this business called Bottoms Up Diving. It was a salvage business. We cleaned bottoms of racing sailboats. We fixed moorings. We fixed propellers. Between the age of, I think, 15 and 19. It was awesome. It actually helped me pay. It actually helped me build up a bank account so I could pay for college.
So how much did you save up by the time you got to college from that business?
Oh man, I don't remember the amount. I had enough. I probably had, I don't know, 15 or 18 grand.
Dude, that's a lot. Listen, that's a lot of money. Like even today, that's a lot of money. I would assume that was like in like the 90s, right? Or like late 80s.
Mid 80s.
Yeah. So that's a lot of money, man. That's like time value money. That's like 60 grand now. So yeah. I mean, that's like, that pays like for half a year of college now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for one semester.
Yeah, that pays for like your room and board for a week,
right?
If you go to the wrong school. So that's a crazy. So I had one experience with construction when so my dad owned gas stations. So there was no which is an interesting business because if you work at a gas station, you're essentially a gas station attendant, which if anyone's ever done that will know that means you're sitting on your ass all day waiting for people to come in and buy gas. Now, what they don't know is like when you're not waiting for people to buy gas from you, you're like cleaning the place, right? Because like nobody like that's your job. So I was cleaning gas station bathrooms in like Riverside, California when I was 10. Which have you done that before?
At the yacht club, my early jobs were cleaning the bathrooms, cleaning the floors, and pumping gas for the boats.
Everyone on Earth should have to clean a gas station bathroom at least once in their life. I swear to God, I think every 10-year-old should have to do that just once.
Yeah,
because I think it'll change their opinion about what life is all about.
That's right.
Or at least for a summer, maybe. I have a whole model where I think that when you're from the ages of 18 to 20, every single American kid should have to volunteer and give up 2 years of their life, and they could choose military, social services. They have to give back to the United States of America for 2 years and do hard ass work where they're giving to support people that need their help. How do you feel about that? I think that would solve a lot of our problems in this country.
I think if there were the opportunity to earn a wage at the same time, I'm all in.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Then, yeah.
No, not for free. No. It's not for free. I mean, there's room and board and stuff like that, but it's kind of like military service. Like you make money when you're in the military, but you're serving your country. So I think that, and I'll throw in there at least 1 week of cleaning bathrooms at a gas station.
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you.
But when I was 16 or 17, one of my buddy's dads, he had a small construction business. And so like we wanted to earn some extra money. So he offered us, I think it was like $20 an hour, right? Which was a lot of money back then. Just so we're clear, like maybe it was $10 an hour because minimum wage was $4 an hour. This is 1995. And so he was basically doing demolition in a bank. And so like he's like, hey, like, do you guys want to come work for my dad? We're demoing a bank. I didn't know what that meant, by the way. I was like, how much is it? It's $10. It was $10 an hour now I think cash. I was like, oh yeah, hell yeah, I'll make $100 in a day.
Yeah.
It's not going to demo a bank. So we get into this bank and we have sledgehammers. We're 17 and we get to literally go and destroy a bank. Like tear all the drywall out. I mean, we're like hitting the freaking bank vault with a sledgehammer. It was super fun until I realized the next thing you have to do is clean it all up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I swear to God, I was pulling glass out of my hands for like a month after that thing.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I mean, we had gloves on too. It just didn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? We were getting all jacked up, and that was my first and last time I ever did a construction job. I was like, oh, this sucks. Like, now I probably did the worst construction job you can do, but did you have experiences like that in construction?
Oh, for sure. And it was all around the water. My early memories of construction was working with my dad, fixing or building docks. The worst part of the job was, the end of the season, docks go into the marsh and, you're in the marsh in waders from November to March fixing stuff. And I'm talking the middle of winter. And, I'm working with hand tools, so you got to have bare hands or thin gloves. So it's not like you got a lot protecting you. There is no cold like being out on the, where the wind's blowing off the water and you're trying to work with bare hands to build something. But good memories. I knew from a young age that I wanted to be a builder. I was always able, Dad would explain something to me, like the shape, the size, whatever. And I just had this unique ability to picture it in my head and put a plan to it. I didn't even need to put it on paper. I could just put a plan to it. And then the thing that drove me crazy is Dad is, like I said, he's a jack of all trades, but he's a rough carpenter. If he had to do framing, he'd do a great job framing, but don't ask him to do finish. And that drove me crazy because the finished product is what I took pride in.
Yeah.
So I learned to be a finished carpenter pretty early.
That's so interesting. So first of all, I don't know if the audience picked up on this, but so this is what part of the country are you doing this in the water stuff?
In Rhode Island. I was born and raised in a little town called Barrington, Rhode Island.
Yeah. So just so we're clear here, when it's like November, like how cold is the water in November? Let's just we're going to pick some.
By November, we're probably down into the low 50s, high 40s. Come December, January.
Yeah. Oh, you're in the water then?
Yeah. But so I got waders on, right? They're rubber waders, but still it's, you're in there for 6-7 hours. It's cold.
Yeah. So like in January in Rhode Island, it's probably in the 40s. I mean, it's not frozen.
30s. Yeah. We're
30s.
Shit. Yeah. It's 20s and 30s. So it gets cold.
Oh, but you got rubber waders on, so you're fine. Yeah, bullshit.
Right.
Yeah. No. 6 hours in 30-degree water, like again, like that's kind of gnarly, right? So I mean, that must have been kind of miserable.
Yeah.
I mean, how did you feel?
Unlike your dad, my dad, he paid us very fairly. And he believed, and I still believe, the harder I work, the more I should earn, right? If I'm working with wisdom, I should earn even more. And Mom and Dad really instilled that in me. Here's a good story. So it got to the point where it was pretty clear that I wanted to be in the construction, but my sophomore, junior year, I had thoughts I was just going to finish high school and I was going to go off on my own. Dad said, okay. I have a friend, he's a home builder. I want you to go to work for him for a summer. So I worked for Mike Sino the summer before my junior year, I think. And I swear to this day, Dad told Mike to give me every worst job Mike could find. Digging holes, have the lumber truck drop the lumber at the bottom of the driveway so Chuck had to carry it up, make sure the ladders were rickety so he had to carry, the when he's carrying the lumber up on the ladders. And I get to the end of the summer and I said, Dad, I think I'm going to wait on starting a business. I think I should go to college. My dad looked at me and said,
because this is
best
instead of going to
decision you ever
college.
made. Yeah, because neither of my parents went to college. Both of my parents were my dad never finished high school. He got his GED in my early teens. So, for me to go to college was a big deal, very important to them. And it just took me a while to figure that out.
Yeah, also though, I mean, look, like nowadays, like not going to college, like there's an argument to be even if we go back to the start of the show, saying, hey, like you saved the equivalent of $20,000 up there, or 18 to 20 grand then is like 60 grand now, and I was like, oh yeah, that pays for 1 year of college, not including room and board if you go to a private college, right? And so, like. Back then, though, school wasn't as expensive. I mean, I graduated in 2000 from college, and like, dude, I owed 20 grand, and that was because I decided to go on a trip around the world for like 6 months or 4 months when I was a junior, right? And I would have had zero debt when I graduated. So, but our parents were way different, man. Like going to college was a big deal. Is your family first generation or second generation? Like,
on my mom's side, it's my mom's second generation. My grandpa's was from Ireland. My grandma was from England, and my dad's side of the family goes back far in the fishing industry.
Interesting.
So, but still, and I'll put a plug in here. While I'm an advocate for education can come in many different ways.
Of course.
And I often wonder back if I had gone into the trades, what it would be like. I think I would have been an entrepreneur. I probably would have been in the skilled trades. I follow Mike Rowe pretty closely. I'm a big fan of how he advocates for, and promotes the trades. And some of those trades, they're making good coin on a year-to-year basis, especially if it's a skill, like a plumber or electrician, something like that.
Yeah, so Mike Rowe does the dirtiest job isn't he the dirtiest job CEO guy? Yeah. So I have a buddy who's in private equity. He specializes in the trades, right? And a lot of these guys do really, really well. Especially if you have a national trades business that's like specialized, or you own a territory, like some of these like pool manufacturing businesses. If you're in Austin, Texas, where I live, it's like, I hope they're doing well because it's freaking expensive as hell to have them do anything.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm like, how does this cost that? Like, it's just metal and fabric. I had a guy come out. I wanted to put like a kind of like a roof thing over my pool. Pool cost me 70 grand to build like 5 years ago, and he's like, this is like just like a couple metal beams and like some fabric to make it where my pool's it gets a little shade. And no, it's a decent sized pool. It's 34 by 14 feet, but it's nothing crazy. Right? It's just a nice sized pool. And the guy quoted me 180 grand. I said the pool cost 70 grand. Like, and they had to dig through limestone to put the fucking thing in.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a racket. So let me ask you a question. So you went to college. It sounds like you knew you wanted to be an entrepreneur. It sounds like you knew that you wanted to get into a business that had, you're building stuff, as you said. I'll tell you my own experience. I was a sophomore in college when I told my mom and dad, I said, I'm going to drop out of college. And they're like, why? I'm like, because I know I'm going to work for myself. Like, I'm never going to have a job. I keep having these jobs, and I'm like, well, I'll just run my own business, right? So I do think some folks, yourself, myself included, you just have that in you. You're like, I don't really want to be told what to do. I don't like working for a wage. I'd rather just like take the risk and run the business, and I'll go grind to figure out how to make ends meet while I'm building a business. So how did you went to school, came out, did you go straight into the construction business? Walk us through that a little bit.
I did. So I ended up, I started at a small school in Rhode Island thinking I wanted to be an architect. Quickly realized I didn't, and transferred to the University of Cincinnati. They had a construction, or still have, a fantastic construction management program. It was the easiest way to explain construction management. The curriculum combines architecture, civil engineering, and finance. So I was taking classes in all those different core principles. And the idea is to graduate and have a really good understanding of how to manage the team that makes a whole project happen, from the day, someone like yourself conceives an idea of they want a new house or a new office building or whatever, to the day it's ready for you to move in and use it. And Cincinnati did a great job, and they had a co-op program. And that was the reason I ended up in Cincinnati, was their co-op program, because I could, you'd go to school a quarter, work a quarter. And then I realized that entrepreneurial bug was really nipping at my heels because I was paying my own way through school. And the co-op jobs, they were paying minimum wage. And I knew from my previous experience, I could make a lot more than minimum wage if I applied myself. So I talked to the dean into letting me start my own carpentry business as my co-op. And Danny Jervis, God bless him, he was such a good friend. He joined me, and together we built a bunch of decks and miscellaneous projects. And my favorite story, my wife Molly married me the summer before my senior year in 1989, and I was on a 5-year program, and my 5th year was a thesis I had to finish. I made more money in my 3rd and 4th year than I did each year than I did my first job out of school in New York City. So, working for myself. My 5th year, I really cut back on the hours so I could get it done. Thank goodness Molly had a great job downtown Cincinnati, and she was able to pay the bills she was my sugar mama.
So when you got out of school, you went to New York City, and what did you try to get into finance or something like that?
I had a deep passion to work overseas. I wanted to build buildings in Europe. Matter of fact, before I graduated, I became what's called a certified builder in Great Britain. You have to go through this certification program. And I went to work for Turner Construction, their international division. And I spent, I think it was about 2.5 years in their international division. Never made it overseas, but I was on the team that managed projects we did deals in Europe, Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, Singapore, Taiwan. I was based in New York, but I was working with all these amazing, amazing people, mostly on the finance and scheduling side of things.
Is that part of like Ted Turner or a different Turner?
No, completely different. Yeah, completely.
I know.
They were the world's largest builder.
Yeah, I know that. I know the. I'm imagining like their sign right now. It's like blue and says Turner on it, right?
Yeah. Turner Blue. That's right.
Yes, man, dude. I got a weird memory. So I'm like, oh, I know what you're talking about. I didn't know what the association was. So they were the largest builder in the world. Is that correct?
At that time, yeah. And the idea of going with them, I had a job offer from a group out of London, but if I took the job with London, there was no guarantee of coming home, right? But if you take a job with a U.S. business and they send you overseas, they have to bring you home. So I went with Turner. By the grace of God, Molly and I got lucky, and we had our son sooner than we thought we would. Chase was born in 91, and that Turner had a policy: they don't send you overseas when you're in that early stage of your wife being pregnant or the baby being born at that time. And at the time, it hurt, it stung, but I got an amazing son now because of it. And then, really cool story. I got tired of being in New York City. I asked for a transfer. I got to be on the team that built St. Jude's Hospital.
Wow.
Amazing, amazing opportunity. I'm 23, 24 years old. And if you've ever seen St. Jude, I'm sure you have on TV. I had I had the opportunity to participate in building a lot of what's in those commercials, and what an amazing accomplishment to go see that now, and to say I was a part of that team that did it.
That's cool, man. Yeah, my brother-in-law actually, he works for a huge architecture firm as an architect that builds hospitals. So I know more than I should. He's actually an inventor he's building a bunch of robotics now that you basically they're like table saws that are like essentially robots that cut the drywall to spec and then tags them on so that you don't even have to think, you just know like what goes where. It's like almost like a puzzle. Yeah. So he's developing, he's just like a nerd, and he's just developing all this technology, but his background's in commercial architecture, specifically in hospitals. So
that's a very technical, but there's an interesting story about St. Jude, and I wouldn't know it until much later. I moved out ahead of Molly, and Chase at that time was an infant. I mean, he literally fit between my palm and my elbow. And I get there, and I'm charged with finishing a building. And a lot of it had to do with interacting with the administration, the doctors, and the kids, right? So I've got this infant at home back in New York, and on a day-to-day basis, I'm seeing these poor kids living through and trying to, you go to St. Jude because it's the last patron of hope. And these kids, and I'd call Molly in the evenings. I'd be crying like a baby because I'm so grateful that we have a healthy son, and please get here because I miss him so much. But it planted a seed that I'll get back to later. But it planted the seed of, I'm not just putting bricks and sticks together. I'm making a difference in the world for these children, for these these hospital administrators and these doctors, and it really stuck with me to this day.
I love that, man. So how did you transition from Turner into eventually, it sounds like that was, if I have this correct, you transitioned from that to actually into getting into your own business. Is that correct?
Yeah. From there, I was really lucky. I had a lot of really great successes in delivering projects and moving up in my career. A lot of it had to do that Molly and I were willing to move to the big projects, to the big opportunities. So we bounced around the country quite a bit. I got recruited pretty heavily to some other companies, and we ended up in Chicago. And by that time, I think Molly and I had moved like 8 or 9 times.
Wow.
We found this wonderful little town in the suburbs of Chicago. And I lost my job, and I lost my job because of my ego, flat out.
Elaborate on that. I'd love to hear more.
I had some great success. I rose to a significant responsibility at a very young age, and I let it go to my head. My ego got way in front of my capacity to manage relationships. I could do no wrong, right? I took a job which I think I was very qualified for, but when it came to it, I wasn't. And I got let go, and I had this really hard decision. One, massive blow to my ego. I was on St. Jude's Hospital. I got to build a baseball stadium in Erie, Pennsylvania. I had some really cool stuff that I had done, and double door slammed in my face, and I had to reconcile with that. It took me 3 or 4 months. I interviewed around. Again, I'm back to that notion of that one I had in college. I know I can do better. I know I can make it better. I know I can have more fun. I just need to do this myself. My hardest sale of my life, even to this day, was convincing Molly, because now we have Chase is 5 and Sarah's 1. We've got a house, we've got cars, right? And we don't have a lot of money in the bank. And I had to convince Molly that I can do this, and I know I can be successful at it, and launched Charles Hall Construction.
Wow. What type of construction were you doing when you launched?
We immediately got into a niche that I called building projects, multiple projects over multiple regions for one client. Publicly traded REITs, big corporations, there's a lot of businesses that are creating a product and then delivering that building across multiple regions, but they want one person to deal with. So we got into that first. A lot of self-storage early on. But I met a gentleman out of Dallas, Texas, and he introduced me to senior living. I think we were a year and a half or 2 years in business. Craig taught me the business of senior living. Now, interesting, during this time that this is going on, a buddy of mine went to work for Enron and headed up the Chicago office. And they needed a construction manager for a project they were doing. And I got my last paycheck from, reimbursement for services from Enron 2 months before they went under.
Oh, wow.
Talk about wiping your brow. I missed the bullet on that one.
And so were they a client, or were you a subcontract? So you were a contractor.
They were a client.
And were you doing, so Enron, was it just a commercial, like office building thing, or was it like they're energy traders essentially, right?
Energy traders. They cut a deal with the Archdiocese of Chicago where they guaranteed the gas and electric rate. And there was a savings between what they were paying to the utilities and what Enron was able to provide it for. And they used that difference to create this financing package, which allowed the Archdiocese to go through all of their buildings, new roofs, new windows, new boiler plants, new lighting systems. And, it was funny. But once a month, I'd go to the lead engineer that we were working with, and I'd just say, I don't get this. How are you guys making this work? Chuck, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You just do what you're supposed to do. We got this. And I went to, I saw that engineer after it all fell apart, and he said, I guess we didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. You stay in your swim lane, buddy, even though we don't know
Yeah.
what swim lane we're in.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's weird. And so you were taking on projects, basically doing construction for these different industries. Sounds like it was a mixture of real estate businesses and energy businesses. And then how did you transition that into, it sounds like more of this integrated approach where you're actually buying assets and then actually moving into what we were talking about earlier, which is a vertically integrated approach to senior living. Like, how did you say, hey, I'm going to go focus on senior living as opposed to these other areas you're working on?
The game changer was when I had the opportunity to co-invest in a deal. So rather than just being a 4-fee service builder, we had the chance to be a partner in the deal. Completely changed my perspective. And then as I became an owner, a part owner, a partner in the asset, I took great interest in how were the residents and the employees using this building we were building. Was it functional? Were they enjoying it? Were there things that we could change the next time we built something similar? And through the years, I became as interested in the operations of the care, the delivery of the care, as I was in the building of the building. To fast forward today, I'm more interested in all the services and the care that goes on inside the building than I am about building the building. I still have the construction company. Kevin McKaylee is our president and COO, YPOer. He runs the day to that for me now, so I can focus on the healthcare side of business.
So you had the construction company, really fee for service, right? Were you the general contractor or a subcontractor?
General. We were general.
So you're GC. You're going out there. You got an income statement business. I'm about to throw a little knowledge at our audience, and then you're like, got this opportunity to do a balance sheet play, and then your perspective changed where you're like, well, shit, I'm not just like an assassin going out for the next kill. Like, I actually got to like see how this, like, you don't really make money, by the way, on a balance sheet unless you build something that's more valuable later, right?
That's right.
That's
exactly right.
And I think senior living is interesting because out of all the real estate plays, I guess hotels might be a comparable type of bit, like a real estate play, in that you're building the asset, you buy the asset, own the asset, and then there's an operating aspect of the business, right? Like how operationally efficient. So you have a combination of an operating business and a balance sheet business. Right. And the better you can operate it, the better the balance sheet becomes. So was that something that was eye-opening to you, or was that something like, I got to assume you didn't walk in thinking that was something that you kind of like figured out like later. Tell us about that.
So this was really interesting. For a period of 4 or 5 years, we were building almost 1 million square feet of self-storage across the Midwest and the Northeast. And I got to see, it's a pretty simple product. It's a very basic product, but there's no ego. My early career, all ego. I was on the Emir's Palace, when Iraq invaded and when it needed to be rebuilt. 50-story buildings in Singapore and Taiwan and, et cetera. Those are ego projects. And when I started my business, it wasn't about ego. It was about the business. How could I create a repetitive business? My aha moment was when, as an investor, now I have dividends. I have reoccurring income per my, pro rata share of my investment in the business. So now I'm getting a quarterly dividend to the mailbox where someone else is doing the work, and I'm getting the benefit of them increasing the, the value of that asset and the, distributive cash flow. Big aha right there. And then I thought back, oh my gosh, I should have done this with self-storage, because that is a major cash cow.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Lesson learned. But the more I became involved with other deals and other partners in senior living, the more, literally each year we doubled down. All of our profits, Molly and I took all of our profits and put them back into the business. It either went into growing Charles Hall construction, or it went into co-investment in deals. And to this day, that's our model. Molly and I live pretty frugally. We enjoy our travel and and different things, but a large percentage of our profit continues to go back into the business to grow the portfolio, to grow the business. And now we're growing ancillary businesses.
So let's you may not remember this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. So the first business you do, you co-invest, you start getting some mailbox money. Do you remember how much that was approximately, like, per year? Just
It
ballpark?
was small. Yeah, it was maybe my investment maybe was a percent or two, right? It was small. So maybe I'm making like $8-9 grand a year from it, kind of thing.
Yeah. So you get this, like, I don't want to call it free money, but it kind of feels free when you're like, when you compare that to like hopping in waders and going in 30-degree water. That's a, you probably made like almost what you made when you were a kid doing that, right?
Right.
But
Yes.
so you didn't do anything, right? And so it's funny when you start to make that. Real estate is one of these things where, like, people that have been in it long enough and stayed in the game, like every single person I know that's been in the game long enough, I watch them, I'm like, God, I got a great lifestyle. Like, it's just like, it's one of those businesses where, like, if inflation takes care of you, if you don't make too many stupid bets. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I completely agree. Our model is focused on the asset is a box to provide that is for the businesses. The enclosure is simply a place where we can conduct our business in the care of seniors. The inside of that building, how it's decorated, how the services we engage our residents in, that's where the life of it is. But it's that engagement that creates the benefit of the real estate, right? Because the real estate is only as good as the NOI that the operations that's in it produces. But NOI is it's the positive cash that's coming out of that. So the better the NOI, the better the chance when we go to sell that asset, we get a great return.
What
year
did you
realized this?
Well, let me ask a question. What year did you get into really get into the senior living? What year was that? Like, when you doing what we're talking about right now? I just want to get an idea of timeline.
So my first project was early 2000, 2002, 2003.
Okay, so like 20 years ago. Okay.
Yeah. I think my first co-investment was 2010, 2011.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we're in the middle of GFC. Yeah. Oh, shit. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. How did that asset? So that was my question, really, because you're talking about, it's so funny, like, you pivoted away from storage. I wish you had done both. Storage then till now.
Totally.
Oh, ridiculous.
Totally. Yeah.
But senior living is great. I have a friend that has a bunch of senior living here in Austin. I know more than I should know about that business, but and we'll get to some of my questions around that business, because that's an interesting business. So to your point, you have this, like, box, lights out. It's like, I don't know, it's worth, like, not probably whatever the dirt and replacement cost is to rebuild it, maybe, right? And in this environment, it's going to be a lot because it's expensive to rebuild stuff. But still, like, the real life force there is the humans, and the seniors willing to pay per bed, and that's how you're creating the NOIs we're talking about, the net operating income, which you get a multiple on that, and that's how you value those properties. So what I lost my train of thought, but so in getting into that asset, you started doubling down on it. Were you just like, oh, okay, like, this is the way to create wealth? Was that your perspective? Yeah. Like, how'd you think of it?
It was partly about creating wealth, but it was also partly about making a difference. So that goes back to that St. Jude part, right? It's I can do well by doing good. I can be a part of something. I can partner with an operator that really is focused on making a difference for these seniors, and that really clicked with me. That really clicked with me. Now, you get it. The profit is the fuel that creates the environment for that engagement to happen. So it's a very important equation. But the business of senior living is, people are drawn to it because it's a calling. They're called, much like a nurse or a doctor, they're called to serve others. And that is very much senior living. And I like that. I mean, it's, an important part of my journey. If I think about my purpose, it's making a difference for others. And, here it is presented to me on a silver platter because of, the opportunity to participate and invest in these deals.
What do you, so let's talk about that. So it sounds like you've, and I'm again, like, if people that kind of swim in our circles around Gathering of Titans and Birthing of Giants, are generally speaking conscious leaders, Now, I didn't mention this, but you and I share a couple things in common. We both graduated from BOG. We both participated in GOT. We're both the chairmans of GOT, and we both graduated from the ILP program at Stagen.
That's right.
So
That's right.
I'm a Hamilton class 2000.
Okay.
When did you graduate?
Holy cow! It's been 15. Been about 16, 17 years, I think.
Oh, did you do it with a bunch of GOT people?
Yes. Yeah. So
okay.
Damon, Mike, Mike Maddock, Damon Gersh. There's a whole bunch of names.
Tony Lilios, was he in that class with you?
Tony. Yeah, yep. Tony was in there. Jojo. Have you met Jojo?
Yeah.
He was in
Hawaii.
my class. Yep.
So awesome. Did you have your own like cohort, all GOT? Is that how that happened? Was it all GOT?
Vern was still pretty involved at that time, Vern Harnish. And Mike took the lead early, really trying to talk Vern into creating this graduate of the Birthing of Giants, right? Hey, we're done with Birthing of Giants. We don't want this experience to end. We want to keep coming back to the Endicott house.
Right.
And Mike pestered Vern a year or two. And then Mike, I think that's when Mike and Rick connected. I can't remember how it all came together, but our two classes came together and we created, it wasn't Gathering of Titans at the time. It took us a year or two to come up with a name. But I'm proud to say that I was, one of the founding board members and got involved early, I was behind the scenes supporting Mike and Rick as they, built that program and built it to what it is today. Just what an amazing group of humans. I mean, seriously.
That's so cool. So we're both share our belief in conscious leadership. For folks that don't know what that is, that's doing great by doing good, right? Yeah. That businesses can be more than just a profit center. They can actually create positivity in all stakeholders' lives. Stakeholder, for people that don't know what I'm talking about, is it's not just around the pocketbook of the shareholder, but it's all the communities that are affected by the work we do. So if you think of a business, we use Enron. Enron's a great example. So Enron did bad things to not only the shareholders, but stakeholders, right? There was damage created. Or if I'm Exxon Valdez and I start pouring oil into the ocean, I might have great profits for Exxon shareholders, but at the expense of a bunch of dead animals and someone that's going to go clean up that mess, and it hurts our earth, and there's an actual cost associated with that. Now, whether someone pays it or not, different story. But being a conscious leader is someone that says, hey, like I have responsibility for many downstream effects of the business I do. And my goal is to do great by doing good. And so when you start thinking in your business, building a purpose-driven business, helping seniors, it sounds like you had a calling for that. And I'd love for you to kind of talk about, because I'm assuming that having had a construction business that was really for fee, to then moving into the balance sheet side, to then seeing that you could affect lives, did you have these visions of grandeur to saying, I'm going to build this massive business, or was it just something that kind of happened over time?
I love, the big, hairy, audacious goal approach to the painted picture. It's Brian Scudamore. I love the way he uses the painted picture. This notion of it's 10 years from today, what does it look like, kind of thing. And I've always done that, but I never dreamed as big as we are today. And a lot of it I attribute to luck. I worked for that luck for sure. Right place, right time. But more importantly, one of the favorite sayings that goes around GOT is show me your friends and I'll show you your future, right? It's who am I choosing to spend my time with that are going to challenge me to grow as a leader, to grow as a husband and grow as a father? Who am I hanging around that's going to influence who I could meet that I wouldn't otherwise meet? Like you, right? CK and I connected me, and CK connected me and you. And then Rick Sappio's favorite saying, how you do anything is how you do everything. And that is just me. That's always been me since a really young person. And one of my investors says, Chuck Hall, I don't know how, but your phone always rings. And new deals, new opportunities, new relationships. And I've just been really fortunate that way, Darius. I've been really, really fortunate with the people in my life and how they've, participated in that journey.
I love that, man. And so yeah, like kind of like dropping some Brian Scoop. It's so funny. You're like naming like you just named 3 former guests from the show all in one sentence.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I got to go back and watch that. I haven't watched that one.
I actually think you've named Damon Gersh. I don't know if I interviewed Damon. I think I interviewed
Damon's
him.
Awesome.
Yeah, I love Damon Gersh.
What a story.
He's ridiculous. Yeah, crazy story. I think I interviewed him like before this became an actual podcast, when it was a live stream. But they're all good friends. So looking to the future, you have this vertically integrated business. Tell our listeners a little bit about what that is, what that looks like, and what the goals are with it.
So I got to go back before I can get to that.
Yeah.
I built Hall Construction through relationships to about $98 million in revenue a year.
Oh, wow.
And I was never so unhappy in my entire career because I was doing the work for the sake of the work. I wasn't doing the work and getting the benefit of making a difference somehow. Tough projects, big projects, $60, $70, $80 million deals. One of them almost put me out of business. And I had this epiphany that I wasn't happy. I wasn't making, I wasn't acting on my calling to make a difference. And then Chris comes along with, he starts his business. I've known Chris. We've done deals together, 15 years or so. And he goes out on his own. And, now I have a chance to co-invest with him. And again, we have this idea. We're going to be in the Southeast. We're going to focus on the Southeast, and maybe we'll have 15, 20 communities. Well, our other partner comes along shortly thereafter, and Blanding Beatty. And I just, this is part of this conscious leadership style, learning to recognize the superhero in each other, and also what are the weaknesses that we each bring to the relationship, and honoring both. Right, and not using it as a judgment against you, but a judgment for you. And it's like magic. The 3 of us working together, and we've achieved more than we ever imagined, 4 or 5 years ago. But now that where we are, our imagination is a lot bigger. We have a much grander vision because of this experience of working together.
So talk us through each of the components of that. So you have the construction business, you have the senior care business, which is the operating of those facilities. You build these communities, right. You take care. Essentially you're putting those communities, for listeners that don't know, it's not like how many beds, right?
Right.
It's all beds, and you're kind of managing the beds depending on the level of care. Is this like what type of care are you guys doing?
So we have I own the construction company. Blanding owns a development company. Chris owned the senior living business, and we brought that together.
Got it.
So that we can build it, we can own the real estate, and we can provide the business within the box, so to speak. Sorry, I lost my track of thought. What was your question again?
Oh yeah. So my question was how did what did you, I just wanted some clarity on who owned what and how it came together.
Yeah,
so construction, development, senior community business.
And so it was a merger of human capital. There was no dollars exchanged. We realized early on the benefit of bringing these expertise together, and what it could create in this vertically integrated approach to delivering this service.
So with that, you guys did that initially. How did you guys just do one project together? Did you guys do many projects together? Like obviously you did many over time, but initially, how did you test drive that? Because I think a lot of times I'm a person that's done a ton of partnerships. I'm putting a partnership together right now. Partnerships are messy. Partnerships are complicated, especially if it's maybe not an equal partnership, which sounds like yours was, but they're not always the case. How did you approach that? And then once you figured that out, how did you guys then take that to scale?
With Chris, it was easy. We had already, when he went on his own, he had his own operating business, Vitality, and I had my own business, Charles Hall Construction. We had already been doing some deals together. So we had the year and a half of that under our belt. Chris and I closed the deal in May, and Chris goes to have the breakfast with this guy, Blanding Beatty. And Chris finishes breakfast. He calls me and says, "Chuck, you got to meet Blanding. We need him to be a partner with us." I'm like, "Chris, we just closed our deal. We don't need another partner, man." No, we got to. Chris was pestering me. And all right, I'll meet Blanding. I met Blanding for the first time, and we knew it was the right thing to do. And, in our deals, it's a marriage. When you're in real estate, it's not a 12-month, 24-month. It is a 5, 7, 10-year lifespan to these deals. So you're a partner with this person, just like you are in a marriage. It's a long time, and you got to be willing to work at it. So I think we knew early it could work. Blanding had already built and developed, I think it was 5 assets. Chris and I had 2 assets. So when we brought it together, we had, I think we had 7 assets altogether. And it was the perfect proving ground to, test our idea, to test our theory.
And so fast forward, what do you think has been the number one? You kind of mentioned it, which is, recognizing each other's strengths, what makes you a hero, learning how to work within people's weaknesses. Do you think that it's taken a lot of like open-mindedness amongst the partners to make that work?
Oh yeah. Anything having to do with real estate or construction, there's some pretty big egos involved, right? So there's a lot of managing of that. But fortunately, the 3 of us, I'll speak for my third person, but I think I'm pretty smart. And Chris is very smart. Blanding is very smart. And in my career, what I learned in building the business is I actually enjoyed leading leaders more than I did running the business. And this gave me the opportunity to really test some of the things I brought to my GOT theme, which was a hero's journey.
Yeah.
Right? This cycle of life, this cycle of learning, that if we can identify where we are in that cycle and we have the right resources, the right learning, the right, et cetera, around us, we are more likely to finish that cycle, learn from it, and bring it back. And I started bringing this practice of coaching, mentoring, leadership to the business. And that's my primary role. I run the EOS traction process in the business. So I'm the business operator. I do the majority of the strategy, and I do all the leadership coaching of the leaders in all of our division. So I found my niche. Chris's niche is he is the visionary, right? He has this vision for our business. And at first I thought he was crazy, but now we're living it. And Blanding is he just has this financial mind like I've never, and I've been in this business a long time. I think Blanding's one of the best when it comes to putting a deal together, looking at it conservatively, but in a way that doesn't kill the deal, but also builds confidence with our investors and with the banks that we deal with. And he's very practical. And there's no, in development, there can be a lot of BS. There can be a lot of BS and a lot of juggling of numbers. Hey, look at this. And, I'm going to sell you on this idea, and it's all numbers, right? Well, it's all about trust. Blanding has built an amazing level of trust in the Southeast for our investors and our bankers. You put all that together, it's like magic pixie dust.
I love it, man. Yeah. So let's talk. So what's the B hack for the business? What are you trying to? Are you guys going to just build it and like exit it? Are you going to make it a legacy business? Are you guys, where are you at? What are you guys trying to build?
We foresee staying in the Southeast region, moving into the Midwest, the lower Midwest, Indiana, Ohio, maybe Illinois. I'm a little worried about their tax structure, but another conversation. And 50, 60 communities across that area. The real benefit of the portfolio are the services we can provide. We just finished a transaction with 2 other senior living partners to buy a pharmacy business. So where before we were hiring a contractor to bring the pharmaceuticals into the community, prepackaged, pre-labeled, and then we would take over the distribution with our nurses. Now we own the whole chain of that, from the day it's packaged to the day it's delivered, and now we can manage that quality and the care. The home care business. When we get to 60 communities, so each one of our communities, we draw from roughly 5 to 8 miles. Our residents come to us from 5 to 8 miles. With the home care business, now we can start delivering care into the home within that radius, start developing relationships much sooner, start building that trust that much sooner. So when they're ready to make a move, if they want to, hopefully we're their first choice. And so you can imagine all these different opportunities for services. Nurse practitioner, healthcare. We're having conversations with regional hospitals about bringing telehealth into our communities. one of the biggest problems in senior living today, anyone over 75, is depression, loneliness, right? If they're at home and they're all alone, huge issue. Add to that the number of doctors most of our residents see, which is several. There's no coordination of the medication, which leads to depression, which leads to, a lack of engagement, a lack of socialization. The more we can do to the benefit of our senior who's living with us to help them engage in life more fully, be more active, and, have a life fulfilled to a later date in life. I mean, that's awesome. How awesome is that?
I love that, man. As you guys are building something amazing over there, and I love the fact that you're, really going outside of just this initial part, which is the real estate play, then going into a specific niche, and then starting to do the full vertical integration. If you think forward, a couple years, maybe 5-10 years, if you have it your way, what is the idea just to scale this, or is it to actually add more verticals?
When I look forward and I think about potential exits,
let's go there. We'll edit it right back in. So just go, start off where you stopped.
On the real estate side, we're a value add real estate play, meaning we buy assets that are troubled, either financially, poorly run, or they need physical plant improvement. So we're buying assets at less than replacement value. That's one play. And some of those assets will cycle through. We'll buy them and we'll sell them. We see the real opportunity on the ancillary businesses to go vertical in pharmacy, to go vertical in home care, to go vertical in the delivery of the care within our community. Telehealth, they're calling it right now. That's where we see the real opportunity. As I look forward to the business and where the business might be, I think we'll always have a real estate portfolio. Our real opportunity is with our ancillary businesses. And as we grow the verticals, whether it's pharmacy, home care, delivering care like through telehealth into our community, that's where we see our growth and the opportunity to really, maybe we involve private equity at some point so we can do roll-ups in those different verticals.
Love that, my friend. So you guys are just doing great work in a great demographic for good people, and I love hearing people that have that thoughtfulness and purpose-driven in a purpose-driven organization. It sounds like you guys are really all in on. I want to, we're here towards the end of the show, and I'd love just to end with our greatness question. So I'm going to give you the greatness question, and if you wouldn't mind, give me your greatness answer. You ready? You ready to go, Chuck?
I am. I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. So what is the number one barrier? All right, let's do it. So what is the number one barrier to creating greatness that you've overcome in your life, and how did you overcome it?
I'll relate it back to that hero's journey point. It's that I've had several calls to action in my life and the fear that comes with those call to action. So the first one was when I got let go, right? I was fired and I had to decide, am I going to make the leap? I got really lucky. I found a couple of mentors who fostered me through that period and helped me feel comfortable in making that decision. And I would say that is the number one. It's having the confidence to take the leap in those really difficult situations and trusting that you're going to have the right resources or the right learning available to get you through it. And, the being fired was one of them. I can count a few difficult business issues that I've been through, but it all relates back to that.
I love that, man. I love that. So just, such words of wisdom. And I just got to say this, Chuck, so much gratitude having you here on the show today. It's been a few months to make this happen. I'm glad you were so patient. You guys don't know, but Chuck was super patient and gracious with me, and much appreciation just getting to learn your story and to really learn about just the thoughtfulness that's gone around how you've built your life and your business and the good you're doing in the world. So thank you so much for coming on the show today, my friend.
Darius, I am so grateful for this opportunity and can't wait to see you again soon.
Definitely. And if you don't mind, just if there's a way that if people want to learn more about the stuff you're doing or connect with you, what's the best way for them to circle up with you?
Good question. I'm on LinkedIn. The easiest way is through our Vitality website or Instagram. C4 Build is kind of my moniker. I don't know how to answer that, Darius. How do I do that?
Yeah. Yeah. If you have a website or LinkedIn, where's your website? If they want to go check out, do you guys have like a formal website people can learn more about what you're doing?
www.myvitalityliving.com.
So you guys, go check out myvitality.com. Check out what Chuck's up to. You can hook up with him on LinkedIn. We'll make sure we put your profile in there as well. Again, Chuck, you're an amazing human being. So much gratitude to having you here on the show. And for everybody else, share this. This is a good entrepreneurial story. And I love when we share the entrepreneurial stories with our audience. It's just a way for us to learn from people that have been there and done that and creating greatness in the world. Is really, to Chuck's point, it's being mentored from learning from others and it's from hearing from people that have done greatness despite the odds. So please share this with people that need to listen to it. And until next time, peace out. We love you guys. She's my lover. You are listening to The Greatness Machine, and that's a wrap for today. Listen, if you love what you heard, subscribe to the show on whatever podcast platform that you're tuning in on so that you don't miss any of our future episodes. We have tons of great people coming on, and we're stoked to have you here to enjoy it with us. Leave us a review. Tell us what you love most about this particular episode. We love getting the reviews. We love to see what you guys love most. And if this particular episode, made you think of someone who's leveling up in their business and in their life, print screen, share it with them. Leaders are the best givers. And after all, we're all here to support and grow with each other. And in case you want to see some of the fun behind the scenes shots or some of the things that we're doing, I'm actually writing about this in my weekly newsletter. Go to www.therealdarius.com and subscribe to my newsletter. We're talking about fun things like business and life and mindfulness and cryptocurrencies and gosh, I don't even know, everything and anything, but it's tons of fun stuff I write about. I try to get it out on a weekly basis. You can subscribe at www.therealdarius.com. And with that said, look, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. I love you. Peace. We're out of here. See you guys on the next one. She's my lover.